Thank you. Welcome back to the remainder of our regular meeting of January 12th. The next item on our agenda is written communications. I have not received any written communications. Has anyone else received any that they would like to share with the board? Seeing none. The next item on our agenda is audience communications. Audience communications is a time that the board sets aside to listen to comments from the public. It is a time that we are here to listen, but it is not a question and answer session. So if more information is needed, we will get more information and go from there and refer to it again in a future meeting. But right now, it's just the time for the board to listen to comments from the public. We do strictly adhere to a 3-minute per person time limit on comments so that everyone can be fairly heard. We have 2 people who would like to speak tonight. The first is Penny Kreider, representing Senator Patrick Kolbeck.
Good evening, everybody.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you very much for having me. I just wanted to come today and introduce myself. I'm Penny Kreider, District Manager for Senator Patrick Kolbeck. Senator Kolbeck is now the Senator for Livonia. He is of the 7th District, which includes Plymouth City and Township, Northville City and Township, Canton Township, City of Wayne, and then now Livonia. So we're very excited about that. Excited to work with every one of you. And I basically just wanted to give you my contact information. I handed out cards for the public. My phone number, if you need to contact me, is my Lansing number is 517-373-5713. I am the in-district manager, so if you need to contact me, would like to have a meeting, you can either call me or email me at Kreider, that's C-R-I-D-E-R, at senate.michigan.gov, spell out Senate in Michigan. And we will be conducting office hours at the Senior Center, just across the street. This is going to be Friday, January the 16th at 11 a.m., and they're typically an hour long. It's open to the public, and you can come and just discuss any issue you want with the Senator, and he'll be happy to answer your questions. So thank you very much, and we look forward to working with you.
Mrs. Burton, if I can mention that even though Senator Kolbeck has not represented our school district in the past several years, we've had the opportunity to work with him, and I personally do know him, and so we do feel we have a familiar face and someone who has worked with us on projects in the past years, so that's a good feeling, and he's always been very approachable, and we look forward to working with him coming up. You may want to let him know we're going to be inviting all of our legislators if they want to just come and be observers. We're having our community forums this Thursday and next Tuesday regarding our school budget, and we're going to be inviting all of our legislators if they want to come. They don't have to present, they don't have to be recognized, but if they'd like to come and just observe the process as we're talking to our community and garnering input on our budget, you're certainly welcome to come.
Well, thank you for the invite. Now, typically, he is in Lansing Tuesday,
Correct.
Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah, those are the
Monday
days.
and Friday is when he'll go and talk with the constituents, but if he is unable to attend, I'll look at his calendar. I would be more than happy to come. I'd love to do that.
Great.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Next up, we have John Brisbeck. John.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, and Dr. Liepa. This evening I just come to you as a concerned citizen, so I want the board as well as the administration and the community to know I'm not representing PTSA or school improvement team or whatever I may be associated with. I'm just representing myself as a concerned citizen. I want to first thank you for the hard work you do as pretty much volunteers in the community as school board members and being the distinguished people you are. You have a lot of difficult decisions in front of you, and we only really have one shot at getting it right. I look in the face of a kindergartner all the way through 12th grade, and there's really only one shot at getting it right. And that's why I think professional development means a lot. And I know most of you are MASB certified board members, as Dr. Leop alluded to. You're working towards that goal. I also think the difficult decisions you make are very important but so are the words and actions that you have, as sitting there as a board member or when you're in the community. And I think it's very important, as Ms. Burton always says, there's different kinds of meetings and different parts of the decision-making process, be it subcommittee, committee, or the regular meeting. And I think there's some very sensitive things at times, and this is a new year, and Happy New Year, by the way. We're getting a little bit closer to the middle of January, but and it's a new board. We have a new board member, a new president, and it's a time to again, work real hard, and you guys have worked hard to have those relationships in the decision-making process. And again, actions and words matter. And I don't want a wrong message or any confusion in the community. And when there's some things that are more sensitive than others, and such things as contracts, no matter if it's with employment, with administration, or with our union, and in the various things that you guys do, or with a vendor. I know we're working very hard with our, the whole process with the bond and implementing. It's great, by the way, and thank you for all your hard work there. But it's very important. Again, actions and words matter, and I think it's just something that needs to be looked at. And when a board member votes no, sometimes I think there is some confusion in the community of why that is. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is response to prior audience communications. I do not have any response to prior audience communications at this time. The next item on our agenda is our consent agenda. May I have a motion, please?
President Burton,
Yes, Mrs. McDonald.
move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District approve the following consent agenda items as recommended by the superintendent. 5A, minutes of the regular meeting of December 15th, 2014. 5B, minutes of the special meeting of January 5th, 2015. 5C, bills for payment January 13th, 2015.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. McDonald, second by Mr. Johnson. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Mrs. Bonnefield, will you take the roll, please?
Mrs. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Centers,
Yes.
Mrs. Jarvis,
Yes.
Mrs. Laura,
Yes.
Mrs. Bonnefield says yes. President Burton,
Yes,
motion passes.
thank you. The next item on our agenda is item number 6, instruction matters, and we will be hearing from Mrs. Alice.
Thank you, President Burton, and good evening, everyone. Tonight's Focus School presentation is one of 4 required presentations to our Board of Education about our efforts to reduce student achievement gaps. Before I present the report to our Board of Education, I thought I would provide some background information on why we are making this report. Michigan's current school accountability system, which meets requirements that are outlined in its approved waiver of federal NCLB mandates, includes multiple components. 3 of these components are school accountability scorecards, which are released every summer, top-to-bottom lists, which rank all the public schools in the state of Michigan, and school status ratings, in which some schools are identified as reward schools, some as focus schools, and some as priority schools. As we've shared with the Board of Education earlier this school year, LPS has 1 reward school, 5 focus schools, and no priority schools for the 2014-15 school year. One of the many requirements for having focus schools is to present quarterly updates to the Board of Education on the progress that our focus schools are making to reduce their achievement gaps, and these reports have to be made at public meetings. Our 5 focus schools are Cass Elementary School, Garfield Elementary School, Frost Middle School, Churchill High School, and Franklin High School. Tonight's presentation is one of 4 presentations that will occur this year to fulfill this requirement. Unlike the presentations that I made last year to the Board of Education, where I had a great deal of flexibility and latitude in the information that I presented to the Board of Education, This year, districts have a required template that we must follow, and that's because there was a significant disparity in the content and the depth of analysis in the quarterly reports that were submitted to the State Department. I'm very happy to report that the content, the required content in the quarterly reports is very similar to the information that I reported to the Board of Education last year during the quarterly reports. So once again, I want to acknowledge that LPS is ahead of the curve when it comes to meeting state requirements. A copy of the LPS quarterly report will be uploaded to the state's database following tonight's presentation, and the board members will receive a copy of this comprehensive report in your board packet later this week. And rather than read to you the entire 14-page report, what I'm going to do is summarize the required content that covers actions taken by our schools and district from September through the end of November, and it will include the diagnostic data dives that have taken place, as well as the teaching and learning priorities that have been identified by our focus schools as a result of their data dialogues. So I'm going to begin with the data dialogues at the district level, and then I'll move to the school level, and then I will present the teaching and learning priorities for our schools. So beginning at the district level with data dialogues, the district's secondary curriculum facilitators and I reviewed and analyzed the 2014 MME results. We provided our high schools with a comprehensive written analysis that includes historical achievement data, subgroup proficiency scores, identified content area strengths, and areas also noted for improvement. The written reports were reviewed and discussed during the high school content area department chair meetings this fall. The Division of Instruction reviewed the 2014 MME results, looking specifically at subgroup results and identifying patterns and trends in scores over the past 5 years. The middle school and high school principals and the Director of Secondary Programs reviewed the MME results during the secondary principals meeting this fall, with a targeted focus on our 3 lowest performing subgroups. I continue to meet regularly with the focus school team, which includes the principals of our 5 focus schools, our district improvement facilitator, our Wayne Reese school improvement consultant, and the directors of elementary and secondary programs, to share the efforts that we have made to address our most struggling students and to strategize how best to improve their achievement. Moving then to the school level. At the elementary level, teachers at both Cass Elementary School and Garfield Elementary Schools administered universal screeners to their students at the start of the school year, which is supported by our district's Operation Student Success team. These universal screeners are assessments that identify levels of proficiency for students in essential academic areas. The staff at both schools engaged in grade-level data digs, where grade-level teams of teachers analyzed the results of these assessments. They identified students scoring below proficiency benchmarks, and they planned specific interventions for each student based on his or her need. In addition, the Cass School Improvement co-chairs met to review their data to determine the instructional needs of their lowest 30% and made adjustments to their school improvement plan based on their data and on their observation. Additionally, at Garfield, each Tuesday, the Garfield Achievement Team meets to review students who have not made adequate academic or social emotional growth. At these meetings, the team discusses Tier 3 interventions and digs more deeply into specific child study issues. Then each Thursday, the Garfield Title I staff and principal meet to review intervention groups. They discuss progress monitoring of students and then plan next steps in servicing their at-risk learners. Moving on to the secondary level and staying on the topic of data diagnostic dialogues, the Frost Middle School staff reviewed the state accountability scorecard and noted that 2 subgroups continue to require additional support. The Frost School Improvement Team engaged in a comprehensive and in-depth analysis of their school's 2013 proficiency data and confirmed that 2 student subgroups are disproportionately represented in their bottom 30%. The Frost Positive Behavior Support Team reviewed their September and October behavior data determined a plan for collecting additional data on students, and communicated this data collection modification to all staff. At Churchill, the 2014 MME results were examined by all content area department chairs along with the counseling department. Each department noted content deficits and skills which needed to be additionally addressed and reinforced with specific subgroups of students. In October, Churchill administered the ACT practice test to juniors. The administrative team and the department chairs analyzed the results to generate a plan to provide test-taking strategies needed so students would more successfully complete the ACT test in March. Additionally, the Churchill High School Focus School team analyzed the student data available in MyStar Pulse. They identified individual student needs and assigned them to a specific intervention group such as attendance, low credit, and needs a mentor. Interventions provided to each student are specific to his or her need. At Franklin High School, the administrative staff, content area, and special education department chairs, school improvement co-chairs, and counselors conducted a thorough examination and analysis of the 2014 MME results during 9 different data dialogue sessions this fall. They identified that specific content gaps existed within 2 subgroups and developed curriculum interventions to support the academic needs of these students. We heard about these data digs and the interventions being provided when the Franklin High School school improvement team made their presentation to the board last month. This concludes the diagnostic data dialogue summary, and now I'm going to move to the teaching and learning priorities that have been identified by each school as a result of their data dialogues. Again, I'm going to begin at the elementary level and then move to the secondary level. At Cass, the teachers are placing an increased emphasis on measurement, specifically in the area of mathematics, using technology resources such as Learning A to Z for teaching students how to read and interpret charts, graphs, and tables, continuing to implement close and critical reading strategies, and continuing to mainstream special education students in the general education setting whenever applicable. At Garfield, teachers are emphasizing letter and sound ID at the kindergarten level. They're building background knowledge and vocabulary development at all grade levels K through 4. They're striving to improve automaticity with basic facts and number sense, again at all grade levels K through 4. And they're focusing on retelling with an emphasis on character development at the 3rd and 4th grades. Moving on to Frost, 7th grade students in need of math support have been assigned to a Math Connections class, which is a math support class that is in addition to their regular math class. Math support is also being provided to identified 8th grade students during phantom time to remediate targeted math skills. Core academic teachers have administered baseline assessments which are part of this year's school improvement plan. The results have been analyzed, content gaps identified, and instructional practices implemented. The Frost staff continues to be engaged in professional development related to formative assessment practices and building social comfort within their school. They are implementing classroom strategies and school-wide activities as a result of these professional learning experiences. At Churchill High School, the staff is continuing their participation in the African American Male Youth Promise Initiative, which is supported by the Michigan Department of Education to close the achievement gap among African American males. The impact of this initiative is resulting in the staff beginning to see a reduction in the achievement gap of this subgroup. This year, Churchill High School began a vocabulary initiative focusing on content-specific words identified by each content area department. Staff is being trained on the most effective instructional practices for teaching vocabulary to students. And as a result of the analysis of the ACT practice test, after-school ACT prep sessions are available for juniors, and ACT type questions have been developed and are being reviewed with juniors in their science classes. At Franklin High School, the Right to Learn program is being used in ELA classes to assist students in the development of their writing skills. This program provides students with immediate feedback on their writing, which, along with teacher instruction, helps students develop the 6 essential writing skills that they are lacking. In both ELA and social studies classes, teachers are using the magazine called The Week with students to practice close reading strategies and to practice writing summaries and argument essays. In mathematics classes, teachers are emphasizing skills to help students increase their ability to read, comprehend, and solve multiple steps mathematics problems with precision. As you can see from what I've just shared, the staffs at all of our 5 focus schools are engaged in multiple data dialogue sessions about student achievement, and as a result, have continued or have expanded existing programs, are providing double-dip learning opportunities, and initiated new interventions with the focus on improving the learning of their students and mitigating their identified student achievement gaps. As I mentioned at the start of our presentation this evening, this is the first of 4 such presentations that I will be making to the Board of Education to fulfill our quarterly reports to the Board on the progress our focus schools are making to reduce their achievement gap. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mrs. Alice. Are there any questions for Mrs. Alice? Comments? Alrighty. Thank you again. I appreciate your report. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is item 7B, business matters. Approval of mobile devices for elementary schools. May we have a motion, please?
President Burton,
Yes, Mrs. Laura.
move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District purchase mobile devices, management licenses, and storage/charging carts at a total cost of $89,563.98 for the purpose of piloting these technology tools at the K-4 level.
Support.
We have a motion by Mrs. Laura, supported by Mrs. McDonald. And Mrs. Alice, can you give us an introduction to this topic, please?
Thank you, President Burton. I'll be happy to do that. Tonight I'm going to share with the Board a brief summary of the details provided last Monday during the Committee of the Whole meeting regarding our recommendation to pilot mobile devices at the K-4 level. Our recommendation tonight includes 3 different devices, 1 laptop and 2 tablets. A variety of devices will allow our K-4 teachers to select the device or the devices that best meets the instructional needs of our teachers as well as the students' learning needs. These devices will be piloted at 2 of our K-4 schools. They'll be piloted at Garfield and at Kennedy schools. We are recommending tonight for the laptop 72 Chromebook Notebook 2s, 72 management licenses for these notebooks, and 2 charging storage carts for a total of $25,493.52 for the laptops. Moving on to the first tablet, we're recommending 72 Galaxy tablets for education, 72 management licenses, and 2 storage charging carts. The total for the tablets, the Galaxy tablets, is $27,532.56. And moving on to the second tablet, we're recommending that we purchase 7 10-packs of the iPad Air and then 2 individual iPad Airs for a total of 72 iPads, and 2 Power Sync carts for a total of $36,537.90. This brings the total amount for the purchase of these 3 different types of devices to $89,563.98, and the funds for these purchases will come from the district's 2013 technology bond.
Thank you, Mrs. Alice. Are there any questions or comments on this? Mrs. Bonnefield.
Thank you, Mrs. Burton. I want to say we were at the School Law and Finance conference this weekend, and one of the questions I had originally had was, don't we want them to all be exactly the same? And, you know, they said that it's bring the correct device to the project so that not every project can use the same device. So I do. I'm very in favor of the different series that we're getting, and I'm very excited for the kids. We talked a lot about that on Saturday, and it's really exciting. So thank you very much for all the work you've done on that.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions, concerns? Okay. We have a motion on the table by Mrs. Laura, supported by Mrs. McDonald. Mrs. Bonnefield, will you take the roll, please?
Mrs. Laura,
Yes.
Mrs. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Centers,
Yes.
Mrs. Jarvis,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mrs. Bonnefield says yes. President Burton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is item 7C, approval of mobile devices for Emerson Middle School Title I funds. May I have a motion, please?
President Johnson.
Almost. Oh, yep, but it's been for a long time. Yeah. President
Knew
Johnson,
I
Mrs.
was
Johnson.
gonna do that.
We know who he is. Yeah. Yeah.
Mrs. Burton.
I'm omnipresent.
Yes. Yeah. Your spirit just stays right here in the chair.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Yes. Mrs. Bonnefield.
Move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District purchase the mobile devices, management licenses, and storage charging carts at a total cost of $25,493.52 for Title I programs at Emerson Middle School.
Okay,
Support.
Thank you. Mrs. McDonald, is it? Okay, thanks. We have a motion on the floor by Mrs. Bonnefield, supported by Mrs. McDonald, and we will be hearing from Mrs. Alice again on this.
Thank you again, President Burton.
You've been busy tonight.
Yeah. Once again, I'd like to summarize the details that I shared with the board during the Committee of the Whole meeting last Monday night regarding this recommendation. Last month, the board approved the purchase of Chromebook notebooks for pilot at the middle school level. Emerson Middle School would like to expand on this purchase for use in their 2 Title I programs. One set of mobile devices will be used in the Success Strategies class. It will replace the current 8-year-old desktops that are in that class. The other set of mobile devices will be shared among 3 elementary teachers who are teaching classes to support students who struggle in their with their literacy skills. And again, Title I funds will be used for this purchase, and we are recommending 72 Chromebook Notebook 2s, 72 management licenses for these notebooks, and 2 storage charging carts. That brings the grand total to $25,493.52. And as I mentioned earlier, the funds needed for this purchase will come from the Emerson Middle School Title I allocation.
Thank you, Mrs. Alice. Are there any questions or concerns or comments on this item? Mrs. Bonnefield.
Mrs. Burton, thank you.
Welcome.
I just, for the public's knowledge, just to verify and let everybody know that Emerson is a school-wide Title I, and that all kids will have will be able to use these devices.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions or concerns? All right. We have a motion by Mrs. Bonnefield, supported by Mrs. McDonald. And Mrs. Bonnefield, will you take the roll, please?
Mrs. Bonnefield says yes. Mrs. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. Centers.
Yes.
Mrs. Jarvis.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mrs. Laura.
Yes.
President Burton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is item 8A, personnel matters, and we have sympathy resolutions. May I have a motion, please?
President Burton,
Mr. Centers.
sadly, I move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District adopt the attached sympathy resolutions for the families of Penelope Larscheip and Susan Schnettler.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Centers, supported by Mr. Johnson. Are there any comments or questions? Mrs. Bonnefield. Will you please take the roll?
Mr. Centers?
Yes.
Mrs. Jarvis? Mr. I got too many J's.
That's okay.
Sorry. Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Jarvis?
Yes.
Mrs. Laura?
Yes.
Mrs. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Bonnefield says yes. President Burton?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And again, our sympathies to the two families. Both of these ladies passed away at far too young of an age. We're very sad. We will miss them very much. The next item on our agenda is item 9, reports from the superintendent. Dr. Leop.
Thank you very much. Just want to, again, inform the community that we do have community forums coming up starting this week regarding our budget planning for the 15-16 school year. The time of the forums will be approximately 1.5 hours. The first half hour will be a presentation from staff talking about the school district's financial condition. It will provide information about how schools are funded. It will provide information about historical trends with our funding here at Livonia Public Schools, and also then talking about where we're at right now and the types of things that we've done over the past many years to maintain a balanced budget and the structural issues that we have moving forward. After that, then we're going to provide an opportunity for community members to meet with individual board members in small group sessions of 10 to 15 people, so we can get direct feedback from our community in regards to ideas related to our budget. This is our time to hear from them. We have done this in the past, both with our bond issues, budget issues, and other issues, and have found them to be very valuable. And so we're looking forward to these two coming up again. The first one is Thursday, this Thursday at 7 p.m. And then the following Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. They will be held here at the board office. You do have to register to participate, so we can make sure that we've accommodated with enough rooms and enough breakout sessions to have good sized opportunities for people to provide feedback. And so if you want to register, you just need to go to our website, and it will clearly show the process to do that. It's really just contacting the superintendent's office to do that. We have a great turnout to date. We already have 90 people signed up for this Thursday. We have almost 50 people signed up for next Tuesday. And in addition to that, we're going to be providing a staff opportunity to go through the same exercise next Tuesday at 4:30, and we have almost 50 people signed up already for that. So we believe we have a very good turnout, and we're looking forward to getting feedback from our community related to our future budget planning. Next, just want to highlight one of our students, Zab Opsnick, who is a junior in the MSc program at Churchill. He was invited to attend the Harvard-MIT math tournament in Boston. That's a significant accomplishment. He was only a student from the Livonia area invited, and he captained the top high school math students from around the state. He finished 19th individually, and certainly we're very, very proud of his accomplishments. So congratulations to Zach and the Churchill family that works with Zach on a daily basis. And last, I'm sure during board comments we'll also make mention, we mentioned 2 longtime employees of ours that we lost over the break. We also lost a former employee who was very, very close to all of us and a great contributor to our school district and, more importantly, to the kids of our school district. Former principal of Coolidge, Ann Kalick, passed away over the holidays. And Ann was just a special person. It was evident at the funeral home with the many, many people from Livonia who she touched, who came to pay respects to her. And we have been missing her and will continue to miss Ann. And she was a wonderful person and made great contributions to the lives of many, many people. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Ms. Burton. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is 10A, first reading of board policy IHG graduation requirements. We do not need a motion on this, as it is a first reading. We will not be voting on it until our next meeting. Dr. Leopold, do you have anything to add on this topic?
Yes, we spent quite a bit of time at our last committee meeting talking about changes in the law as it relates to more flexibility with high school graduation requirements. And so when that law passed, Mr. Archibald, Ms. Alice, and the other cabinet members spent some time, talked to our high school principals, and looked at the things that we may want to incorporate into our board policy that we now can take advantage of as it relates to these new flexibility opportunities through the state legislature. And so with that, I don't know if Mrs. Alice or Mr. Archibald want to share a couple of specifics as it relates to that. Allow them to do that.
Certainly, thank you, Dr. Leopold. I'll review the content area, recommended changes, and then I'll turn to Mr. Archibald, who will share the other changes to the board policy. In the area of language arts, the 1 unit of language arts, 11 electives, we're recommending change to reflect our current graduation requirement, which is 1 unit, which includes a half a credit of composition and a half a credit of literature. The other language arts change is to change the language from language arts 12 electives to choice of 12th grade language arts classes, which again reflects our current graduation required classes. In the area of science, we're asking that the 1 unit of physical science requirement be expanded to include the completion of a CTE program that allows some flexibility to students who participate in a 2 and 3 hour CTE program. And again, this change is reflected in the MMC changes that Dr. Leopold mentioned were passed by our legislators this summer. And for the remaining changes, I will turn to Mr. Archibald.
Thank you, Mrs. Alice. The next change recommendation has to do with Section F, Visual Performing and Applied Arts. The Visual Performing and Applied Arts requirement, it's our recommendation that this can be modified to a personal curriculum plan for students who take additional credits beyond the required credits in English language arts, math, science, or world language, or if the student completes a career technical education program. With respect to world languages, the requirement is for 2 units in that area. Currently, a student may satisfy this requirement by taking 2 units of the same world language. We are recommending 2 other possibilities with respect to satisfying this requirement. The first would be 1 unit of the same world language and 1 unit of career and technical education, or 1 unit of the same world language and 1 unit of visual performing and applied arts, in addition to the required VPAA credit that's referenced previously.
Thank you to both of you. Dr.
And so, yeah, Mrs. Burden and board, the changes reflected that we talked about last week still, from a big picture standpoint, maintain a very rigorous graduation requirement obligation for all of our students. What it does do is just provide some additional flexibility. So, for example, in the area of science, students will still get the science content taught to them, but it may be in a vocational or career center type of class where they're actually getting some real life experience at the same time. And so that provides the opportunity for students to get some of that direct real life experience, expand their opportunities through different career center programs, yet at the same point in time still meeting that science requirement. The only other thing I would mention is Mr. Archibald highlighted the visual and performing arts option through the personal curriculum. We actually reflected that from a policy standpoint under number 7, personal curriculum plan, where we use that as an example to outline how the personal curriculum opportunities can provide additional flexibility to students to meet the graduation requirements. With that, we're recommending approval.
Right. Are there any questions or comments on this? All right. Mrs. Bonifield, can you put that on our agenda for our next voting meeting?
Yes.
The next item on our agenda is the second reading, is item 10B, second reading of board policies. And may I have a motion, please?
President Burton,
Mrs. Jarvis.
move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District accept the recommendation of the Policy Committee and adopt language per the attached documents for the following: Policy IFD, Library and Media Centers; Policy IFE, Field Trips; Policy IFF, School Volunteers; and Policy JB, Attendance.
Support.
We have a motion by Mrs. Jarvis, supported by Mr. Centers. And Dr. Leopa, would you like to address this?
Yes, as part of the board's ongoing long-term review of all of its policies, we did identify 4 additional policies that needed to be updated either to reflect current practice or just make some corrections in regards to some of the verbiage to make it more clear. And we included these particular 4 policies as part of many policies that we brought forward. We reviewed these both in study session and in committee. Have also already had a first reading and walked through these at our last board meeting, and are asking you now to go ahead and approve these for the changes. The instructional program, Library and Media Centers, is part of the overall instructional materials review of Board Policy I that we corrected to be focused more along current practice. The same with the instructional program field trips. We wanted to make sure that that was reflecting what we currently allow as it relates to field trip requests in the school district. Instructional program volunteers, IFF, relates to clarifying just the verbiage in regards to what a volunteer is. And then last, policy JB, student attendance. We needed to change this policy to reflect the state requirements, making sure that our school district had both excused and unexcused absences outlined and described in our policy. This also will be followed up with an administrative regulation that will provide additional clarification. But we do need to do this to be in compliance with state law.
Thank
Those
you.
are the 4 that we have reviewed on multiple occasions, and we're now ready, after all of that review, to have the board take action on them.
Are there any questions or comments on any of these 4 policies? Mrs. McDonald.
Thank you, President Burton. Dr. Leopa, I was just curious because with student attendance, JB,
Yes.
since we've been out of the loop on calling in and making sure that our schools are notified, are we going to give a little latitude for the first few weeks, maybe? To ensure that we kind of get everybody back on track, because I know it's going to be new change for next semester. So.
Yes, we'll have to make sure to transition into the new policy for parents. We have communicated with them even prior to the board approving this, letting them know that while it's not approved yet, this could be coming. And so we've taken the opportunity already to give the heads up to parents on this. We will then notify them again upon the board approval of this. And then, as you suggest, we want to make sure that there's still a transition period of time to make sure that we've implemented this and it's working well. So I know Mr. Archibald will be monitoring this this change, because it's a pretty significant change. We talked about it in committee at length. And so it's a pretty significant change for our school district, and Mr. Archibald is going to be monitoring this closely with our high school and middle school principals to assure that it's working as intended.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on any of these 4 policies? Mrs. Bonnefield, will you take the roll, please?
Mrs. Jarvis.
Yes.
Mr. Centers.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mrs. Laura.
Yes.
Mrs. McDonald.
Yes.
Mrs. Bonnefield says yes. President Burton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The last item on our agenda tonight is item 10C, hearing from board members, and tonight we will be hearing from Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, President Burton. I wasn't sure whether I was going to speak as Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Johnson, or President Johnson.
Either
Judge
one.
Johnson,
You can pick it, yeah.
however you want to refer to me.
We'll
but
go with Mark tonight.
I'll give it a shot. This is our first regular meeting back after the holidays. I hope everybody had a very pleasant Christmas and a happy and safe New Year. I want to welcome back our staff, our teachers, our administrators, all of our employees, and thank them for everything they do for our students day in and day out. It's a monumental job, and they are just superb at what they do. Want to thank the Franklin artists this evening, and that would be Delaney McKenzie, Evelyn Edwards, Darian Paisano, Molly Modes, and Danielle Marlette. When you look at the items that they brought tonight, it just makes you wonder how much further they can go with their talents. At their age, what they can do now, I dare to see what they can do in 3 or 4 years. And that's a real credit to their teachers. There are certainly other students out there that are tremendous at what they do. They have great artistic skills, and we wish all of them the best of luck. It's always hard for us to lose teachers, administrators, and our heartfelt sympathies and condolences go out to the families of Penelope Larscheid and Susan Schnettler, and to Ann Kalick. Anyone who knew Ann knew just how dynamic she was, and it's a tremendous loss for us. I want to welcome Liz Jarvis as our new board member. Welcome, Liz. Seeing what you've done, sitting with you on the foundation, I know you're going to be a great asset to this board, and we look for great things. Lastly, I just want to let everybody know that the Founders Day, which recognizes the LPTSA, has their annual Founders Day dinner on, I think it's February 11th. We will only have one other regular meeting before that, and that'll only be 2 days beforehand, so I thought I'd bring that out tonight. If you haven't gone to that, it's really a tremendous celebration of our PTAs, our PTSAs, and our students. If you have an opportunity, I would certainly encourage you to attend. I think last year we were full up, were we not, Liz? Yes. And we're hoping to have the same amount this year. So give that a thought, and we hope to see you there. Lastly, it's getting cold again. We have some snow. The roads are slick. Please bundle your kids up in the morning. It's going to be perhaps sub-zero the next couple of days. Watch how you drive around our subdivisions and our streets. I was out this morning and noted Wayne County didn't do exactly a great job of plowing or salting, so please be extremely careful. And that's it for me. Thank you, President Burton.
Thank you very much. We are at the end of our agenda this evening. I would like to thank everyone for staying with us. Those of you who have hung in there in our audience tonight, and those of us who are watching from home. Thank you very much, and we are adjourned.